No, because it would be in your place. That's what I mean. No. I'd rather see you. Who's going to run this? Are you going to come here and run this? You'll never run it. I know you. No. First of all, you're more knowledgeable than I am.
This is the first meeting I'm presiding over, so I'm probably going to make a couple of mistakes, so bear with me, okay?
Before you slide, I have a statement to make.
Yes.
Can I ask you for your opinion? Mr. Pipers does not belong on the board until we get a legal opinion. He's had 30 days, and that affects the entire voting for offices.
I think the attorney is, doesn't the attorney have his information?
Wasn't that cleared up last time?
He hasn't come back, it's 30 days.
That's you say that. Who the hell are you?
All right, let's take it easy. Let's calm down. Whoa.
Danny, you want to keep order in this meeting?
I'm keeping order. Sir,
Yes, we'd like to.
Stuart, you started it, now you're putting out me. All right,
You're running the meeting.
let's just keep order. Paul, don't answer, please. Yes, that's what we're going
Wait
to
a
do.
minute, you have to answer my statement. He does not belong here, in my opinion, until the lawyer comes up with a decision. He is not a member of the board. And he just gave me the finger. You want to have
Hey, I can hear you. I'm right here. Hold on
He
a
just gave me
second.
the finger.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
I want that in the minutes.
Take it out to the parking lot. All right.
Okay, guys, I need to respond to Stuart. The attorney requested a copy of the trust, which is the contentious issue here, of Mr. Pikus. Mr. Pikus has brought it in to me. He brought it in, was it yesterday? And I forwarded it to our attorneys. At 5:30 this afternoon, our attorneys had promised to get back to us before the start of this meeting. And as of 20 after 7, I had not received it. At this point, the situation remains in limbo. The initial response from the attorney was that Mr. Piker should be on the board. And of course, that's been contested by Mrs. Samuels and Mrs. Wolf. At this point, I don't have a legal opinion.
That should be contested by any honest person on the board. If there's a legal question, and I think it's incumbent upon the president and the manager and the board members to say, we don't wing it here, we want to get a rule.
Okay, let's make a motion on it. Let's make a motion on it.
Motion to what?
Whether we want him to sit on the board or not, whether we want to wait.
You can't make a motion on legal issues.
All right, then what do we do?
No, you can't.
What are you suggesting?
It doesn't belong here until the attorney rules.
So you're just telling him to sit down?
Counted tonight.
Howard, tell me what we have to do.
Okay, what may be a solution to this is, Paul, could you abstain from voting at any motion that is in place? Okay.
You also want to remove from the legislative way.
He's not participating.
As long as he doesn't vote, that's fair.
Okay, good. Well, let's see, we're going to establish a quorum. We have a quorum here, we do. All right, but Linda DeCoff is not here, but she's available by phone if we need her. Take the roll call.
Daniel Coco,
I'm here.
Linda Dickoff, Francis Mesereau, Ann Rosenstown, Scott Samuels.
Here.
Paul Parkus. Stuart Wolf.
Here.
Terry Clark. Michael Spencer.
Okay, fine. Do we make a motion now to waive reading the minutes or?
The next item is the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay, I want to comment on that. At the last meeting, there was a statement read by board member Ann Rosenson. And I want to refute that. I want to read her motion, what she said. And I want to refute it before we get started because this affects the minutes. If the minutes start, I'd like to table these minutes to another meeting if you don't want to hear what I have to say. And I'd rather we don't table it. I'd rather say what I have to say. I'd like to tell Ms. Rosenson what...
Is there a motion before the board?
No, there's no motion yet. I'll make a motion to table this right now.
I second
Take a vote on the motion to table this.
Table, please.
Otherwise, I'm gonna have to tell you.
Wait until we have a vote on the motion to table.
it. You're not the secretary, so keep quiet. She's the one.
Can we,
Yeah, I don't decide shout out like crazy, nobody else can.
Secretary.
can we have a little civility here?
Now,
Just a little civility.
let people stay.
All right, well, why are we shouting and screaming? Can't we have a little civility?
Come on, shouting and screaming.
No, she wasn't shouting and screaming. It started with you earlier.
I'll take a vote to table the minutes. Dan Coco?
Table minutes, yes.
Oh, damn. Linda Dickoff is out. Francis? No. Me? No. Scott Samuels?
Yes.
You want to table it?
Yeah.
Paul Pipers? Stuart Wolf?
Table it.
Pardon me?
Table it.
Debbie Cloud? Michael Schenkel?
No.
Okay. Then I would like to read Ms. Mesereau's statement before this thing goes, and then I want to present my evidence of why I'm contesting this being put into the minutes. Here is Ms. Rosenson's statement. She says, and now I would like to clarify a misconception that the Sales and Lease Committee does not obey the law because we don't take minutes. And because of our negligence, Mr. Samuels told me if he reports us, and he might, it would cost the residents of IV thousands of dollars. The report you just heard about our minutes are our minutes. It tells you what transpired at our last meeting. This is the Sales and Lease Committee. The reading of these minutes are never waived. And these minutes are given to the secretary who adds it to her minutes of the board meeting. If Mr. Samuels or anyone else ever wants to refer to our minutes, they have only to look up the minutes of that meeting. I hope this explanation will allay any fears Mr. Samuels has in regards to the Sales and Lease Committee. Now, I want to respond to that, and it'll be very simple, that state law requires that all meetings of the administration shall take minutes. And violations are very severe. Could go as severe as $10 to $18 per apartment if you don't make the minutes. Now, the minutes are not a report. Minutes are supposed to be where you have a roll call, where you get a quorum, where you have an agenda, where you have the names of everyone who attends, just like Ms. Mesereau did these minutes. That's how the minutes of every meeting of the association, whether it be a board meeting, an annual meeting, a membership meeting, a special meeting, a budget meeting, or a committee meeting, has to be done. And you're in violation. And if you don't do it, there's no recourse other than go to the state. Not that I want to, I could have gone, because this hasn't been done in 2 years. You have to keep the minutes. You have to tell us who voted on the approval or disapproval of every appointment. You have a committee of either 3 or 5. We have to know who attends each meeting, whether you have a quorum, what they vote, who made a motion to approve or disapprove, and then you have to go through the entire process. If you don't do it, you're violating the state law. And this is the last time, the last meeting you have will be the last time that you'll do it without me reporting. I have all the information that you need to do it correctly. I'll be happy to tell you, but you've got to do it. That's a meeting just like this, and it has to be done.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Samuels to me that we made the sales and leasing committee with him as president autonomous and didn't have to answer to the board. So why are you saying?
Wait. Oh, no, you're talking apples and oranges. You see, your association documents say that only the board can approve any sale or lease. And what you're talking about is what I suggested, is that the committee could be autonomous and have the authority of the board when the committee is implemented or initiated. And the board can say, because we don't want to have meetings every time you sell or lease your apartment, we want to give the committee the authority. You have the right to give the authority to be final approval. This could be done.
How do you achieve that?
How do you do that? The board has to, in the charging of the committee, the board and the president, when he appoints his committee and announces his committee members, he tells them what their duties are. And if the board agrees that they can act on behalf of the committee, of the board, then every time they have a committee meeting that's noticed and published and has minutes, it doesn't have to come to the board anymore, because that is the action of the board. And that simplifies it.
Terrible.
I won't make that motion.
That's it.
And we make it autonomous.
Okay, I have a comment to make.
Go ahead.
Mr. Samuels,
Please use your microphone, Chair.
the committee.
Give Francis
Mr. Samuels feels that the committee reports that have been given do not comprise proper minutes of their meetings. So to save him another trip to the board, to tell him how awful we are, tell the board how awful we are, and maybe the wrath of God will descend on International Village. I suggest that from this point forward, the committee please prepare proper minutes of its meetings and present them to the board as requested. In the meantime, Ms. Rosenson's message was only an explanation of her belief that they had complied. It does no harm to leave these in the minutes, and I don't see why they should be stricken from the minutes. But if they are, if the board decides that they should be stricken, it's no big deal. From here on out, let the committee make proper minutes. Is that acceptable to the committee, Ann?
That's fair.
Is that acceptable to the committee?
That's fair.
Fine. Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Samuel?
I'm not so as concerned as having it stricken as I am that they do it according to the law. And if they do the minutes from this point on correctly, it's fine by me.
Very good. And this will be done, and I thank you very much. Now, if it's all right, may I please make a motion that the minutes of the meeting of, again, please, was the minutes that we're going to approve, the date of those minutes.
The first one would be November 18th,
No,
and December, we have two of them, December 16th.
December 16th is the one that Mr. Sanders objected to, so why don't we deal with that first? I move that the minutes of the December 16th meeting, that the reading of the minutes be waived and the minutes accepted as presented.
I second. Does anyone oppose waiving this?
Does everybody approve? Anybody disapprove? That's bad.
If I may, please, we neglected to approve minutes of a November meeting of the board. They had not been attached to our booklets at the last meeting. We couldn't approve them because we couldn't refer to them. We now have these minutes before us. The meeting was November 18th, 2008, and they come before the board to be approved. This message at that time, Gloria Gershkop. She had made statements just before she nominated Mr. Miro to the board, that Mr. Samuels and Mr. Wolf had been harassing her, and she made allegations that she found their actions rather heinous. Mr. Scott had requested that he be allowed to rebut these statements, and that was granted. During the meeting of November 18th, Mr. Samuels gave to me, I was the secretary, his purported rebuttal to the president's statement. Upon transcribing the minutes, your secretary discovered that the rebuttal supposedly given by Mr. Samuels did not address the president's message in any respect. It was a vicious attack against the board in general and against Mr. Jerry Miro in particular. I felt that this was something that had been done in very bad faith. I expressed my feelings to the other directors. They agreed with me, but according to the minutes of the meeting, I had no choice except to attach these to those minutes. I now would like to have Mr. Samuels' terrible statement stricken from the record and removed for the minutes of the meeting of November 18th. And I do so move. May I have a second to my motion?
Second.